And welcome, everyone. We're so excited to see you here. This is our last session for round one AI use cases of this particular project initiative. But don't despair, because we will have many more afterwards. And today we will have a special treat because you'll actually get a sneak peek at round two, some of the work. My name is Katina Popolkis. I am the Senior Education Strategist for Dell Technologies. I support both K-12 and post-secondary students and their staffs across the country. Now, we are talking about this amazing project that we've been doing since last July, and it really is about how do we effectively integrate AI into our education systems. And so this is a wonderful partnership between Dell Technologies and C21. And before we get started, we will begin with a land acknowledgement.
I would like to begin by acknowledging the Indigenous peoples of all the lands that we are on today. While we meet today on a virtual platform, I would like to take a moment to acknowledge the importance of the lands which we each call home. We do this to reaffirm our commitment and responsibility in improving relationships between nations and to improving our own understanding of local Indigenous peoples and their cultures. From coast to coast to coast, we acknowledge the ancestral and unceded territory of all the Inuit, Métis, and First Nations people that call this land home. Please join me in a moment of reflection to acknowledge the harms and mistakes of the past and to consider how we are and can each in our own way try to move forward in a spirit of reconciliation and collaboration.
Thank you. And as we continue to look forward, again, that partnership with C21 and Dell Technologies. Now, this goes back a year where C21 did put out a report about the future of AI in K-12 education. And as we know, everybody across the country is grappling with AI. What's the best way to do it? But we see light, everyone. We're seeing some amazing solutions come in front of all of us. And this started back at the University of Calgary. It's actually last May, so 1 year ago this month. These are leaders from C21 who are all interested in how we can really effectively integrate AI into our education systems. So yes, we had to really think about problem solving, critical thinking, what's best for kids, what's best for our staffs, our communities, etc. So this is how this partnership emerged. And it's really around not trying to boil the ocean and do everything that is required with AI, but to really go narrow and deep on one use case that can potentially be an inquiry that develops into something else. But we're going to start with narrow scope and then really try to go deep. And what we wanted to look at is how can we use AI to transform current educational practices, to improve and enhance student achievement, to help educator and student well-being, and improve our efficiencies so that we can get things done a little bit faster. And you might be saying, well, why do we have to do this? I'm sure everyone has seen the headlines across the country. We have a lot of this happening. Doesn't matter where you go, it's what folks are talking about. And I love this quote from Andreas from the OECD. We're really good at inventing tools, not always the wisest in how we use them. So we're trying to get in front of this as much as we can with AI because it is changing so quickly. And so all of these amazing use case stories that across the country we've created are now hosted on this C21 Dell Technologies site. So you can go via the bit.ly or the QR code. Each team has a multimodality story, which means that their research from their inquiry is presented in either a PDF, a podcast, or a video, or a webcast story like this one that you're going to see today. And so the idea is that we want to share these stories, not that you try to replicate them, but you take the spirit of these ideas, bring them to your district or institution, and make them suit your community of learners and your staffs as well. So with that, I would like to introduce today's speaker. This is her story around her Canadian district's innovative approach to how they brought in AI into education. Please welcome Nicole Acosta, the emerging technology facilitator from Parkland School Division. And I'll just stop my share and bring it over to Nicole. Nicole, welcome.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Now I just have to figure out which screen I need to have up and running so we can see that. And share and welcome everyone. It's fantastic to be here. Yes, today is all about ideas and impact and what can we do? Innovation in technology, in education, that's not something new. And like Katina said, my name's Nicole Acosta. I hold a BA, BEd, and MEd, and I currently am the emerging technology facilitator with Parkland School Division. And some of you might be wondering, where are you? Well, here is our home on native land, and I've superimposed the map outline of Canada so you can see we are sort of centrally located. And now let's zoom in. We are medium-sized in Alberta school district with 23 sites. We're quite unique. We're just outside of Edmonton on the highway on the way to Jasper. Yet we have one way up north for Chipewyan. We like to call them Parkland North, that we're helping out the Indigenous community. Now, I do want to say to everybody that any resources, anything shared in this webinar may or may not be approved by your specific school authority. So feel free to check with them to determine anything that's used, any of the tools are approved for your use. And of course, if there's not something that I'm using, you may have something in mind already that's similar. So anyone who's here, Katina, feel free. What do you think from some of the other previous experiences? What have been some of the hurdles or difficulties for integrating Gen AI? And there's Leah, Shay, anyone can just unmute and let's not worry about the chat. Let's just hear you.
Well, I think just fear of from a teacher perspective of how their practice is going to change. And I think there's some fear from students feeling that they're cheating if they use these tools. So, and fear of the unknown, just because it is so new and changing so quickly.
Yeah, I would agree. That was going to be the one that I think with some of our teachers who are uneasy about artificial intelligence and emerging technology and how it can support their work. It really is not knowing how to ethically and safely use it and how to protect student data and the privacy questions and concerns. And they've heard or read, some of the negative things that come out of it and become a little bit fearful and reluctant.
And I would agree with the ethics piece as well. And also, I've noticed this trend of over-reliance on the part of some students on AI. So yes, it is a great tool, but also at the end of the day, we're still trying to teach skills and competencies. And is that being undermined by students just being able to talk to ChatGPT and have ChatGPT do something for them?
Yeah, and so that's something that excited us as Parkland School Division. And you heard Shay talk, he's our Director of Numeracy and Achievement, who helped support this work this year, that we said, where do we want to go? What's our roadmap initially for this project? And we'll talk through a little bit of us having an admin procedure. What does that look like? What are some of the professional development opportunities we offered? And later on, we'll go into our second project. That'll be another video. We'll go into our assessment practices with AI. So the first part was some really interesting pieces that you're going to hear about our roadmap to get into all those particular pieces. And so welcome everyone. If you're watching this, thank you for joining us. If you're live, here's our agreement. Thank you for already being present and engaged. and sharing your thoughts. And feel free to unmute anytime, ask questions. This, I definitely want it to be an engaging webinar for live and for recorded participants. So here's the next one. Now you just have to unmute and say 1, 2, or 3. How familiar are you all with Gen AI in the educational environment? Are you still learning? Are you using it daily? Do you teach and show others? Might be a 3.5, right, Katina? Leah, Shane?
I love learning. I love learning about all of this. So it's exciting, but then I want to share it too with others. So definitely a 3.
Leah or Shay, do you want to say anything?
I just said in the chat between 2 and 3.
2 and 3, excellent.
Yeah, and then I said 2, and then I'm like, oh, wait a minute, I don't know, that's a high bar. Yeah, I use it frequently, but still lots and lots to learn and figure out how to leverage.
I think, Shay, you've done a little bit of teaching during our AI committees that we'll talk about, so.
Yeah, some playing around, but I just dabble in it.
All right, yeah, so don't worry about the chat. Feel free to just, I've got another question for you. So what AI tools have you used in your role? So have you stuck with just the GPTs that are out there? Have you done a little bit more in-depth look at and use of different AI platforms that have those different GPT specific tools built in? Or are you all of the above and you're excited to share 1 or 2 tools right now that you're using that are knocking your socks off? Okay, Katina, talk to us about that.
Okay, so I'm using all the ones that are in 1 and 2. The one that's knocking my socks off that I love is Notebook LM, because not only can I upload documents and get it to do like an intersection and analysis, and I was showing it to my daughter. She then used it for her exams. She created a study guide, flashcards, but then I turned them into podcasts, which is just amazing. So I can go on my walks and listen. And then just in beta, they now have a mind mapping feature. So you're looking at so many different ways learners can now take in their information the best way that they can. And just this week, those podcasts can now be translated into 50 languages. So that tool just keeps knocking my socks off. So I'll pause there.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. Definitely in the second version of our video that hopefully everybody will stick out. We'll talk a little bit more about Notebook. Yeah, definitely. Leah or Shay, anything that you want to share?
Yeah, so I've used some of the ones you're talking about, ChatGPT and Perplexity and so on for research. And Notebook, I agree, Katina, has been excellent. One of the things I have had an opportunity to do is I had to create a presentation for our leadership team around provincial achievement tests and diploma exams, and then the digital platform that accompanies them and so on. And so using Notebook, I took the various sources of information we have, including all of the subject area bulletins and general information bulletin and all the VRETA help documents and so on. Those are my sources. I created summary from those, which was pretty solid. There were some things that were not there that I added into it from the documents that it omitted. And then I went from there and put everything into Gamma and created a presentation that was able to, again, go pretty well off the information that I had edited from Notebook. And yeah, in the span of a day or a day and a half of just kind of playing around and putzing in between tasks, I was able to create what I needed to for that group, which would have taken me multiple days of dedicated time in the past. So yeah, there's lots of platforms. It's just figuring out what to use and when and how.
Exactly. Leah.
Yeah, and I'm using a lot of the GPTs that are listed next to number 1 there, both personally and then also showing the students how to use them for certain tasks, not for all of them, obviously. And I'm still playing around with some other AI platforms right now. Slides AI has been really helpful for me as a classroom teacher, being able to basically synthesize information and get it into slideshow format. And it saved me hours in terms of generating stuff myself. And then I'm also playing around with some different platforms for students to use for note-taking and things. So I'll have to take note of the ones you guys said and give those a go.
Perfect. Thank you for sharing that. That's fantastic. So the objectives for today is how are we looking at artificial intelligence currently? So the generative type for the decisions that we're making for future pieces, whether it's a policy, whether it's next day in our class, whether it's as an at a school site, what are you working on next, developing your next school year plan. So those are important things that I believe within our school authority, we are seeing so many different roles and different personnel taking on AI to fit their needs, or leaning over and seeing a colleague using it and then going, in my instance, I could use it this way. And so that's what's been very exciting for the initial part of this focus. One, having executives being already at the forefront, and you'll see our administrative procedure in just a minute, to already allow that to occur, saying, you know what, we're out there, we need to really take a look at that. And then the other piece initially was, how can we reduce teacher workload? There are things that we do on an ongoing basis, and in Alberta, we have new curriculum being rolled out and needing more resources or different types of resources. And then we have initiatives where we have diverse needs in the classroom. So how do we help reduce, make it more effective, look at achieving? So what's the impact on students if I use Gen AI this way? Amazing, some really interesting things coming out of the work that we're doing. And then initially, this first part of the project was, well, we better, besides having the procedure, we better have a basics of, does everyone know what this is or isn't? And so that was also interesting. And then give us some opportunities. What do staff have on their minds? What kind of training or professional learning would they like? And then some of the best practices that we sort of learned through our experience with this. So we're going to dig into some of the procedures, and also I'll show you some other school divisions just recently shared at a conference we were at called Emerge, that was hosted by ATLE, Alberta Technology Leaders in Education. And so I've included those as well. So these are little bonus resources that are outside of our C21 Dell piece, but have influenced. They've either looked at our administrative procedure. And so you see here, like Katina said, if you want to take a look specifically at our work in Project 1, you can see it through a video. You can see a whole PDF if you like a print document. And you can also hear us through the podcast. And it's a great way to just link how we moved forward from the beginning of this school year to the work that we're doing now that is just incredibly exciting. And so you can see in front of you here, we have an administrative procedure, and I'm just going to let things slowly come up as the Wi-Fi brings up all the other pieces. In the top left corner, we have our administrative procedure that hopefully it'll let me nicely log up, and we'll go through it real quick. And in the bottom right corner, we have UNESCO's AI competency framework, which really helped us look at our goal, our 3-year plan. We call it a continuum, but where do we want to slowly get to? What are the opportunities for us as a school authority to move forward with? So let's just jump in. The other 4 that will slowly start showing up, I know it's hard to see because it's the Wi-Fi slowly bringing in, is we do have some guidelines from other Alberta authorities that based their information on our work from Project 1 and just took it and ran with it. So it's very exciting to see that we've been able to influence a little bit from our neighboring spaces. So let's see, it looks like it doesn't like to, Katina, it doesn't want to go to the next. It looks like it just wants to look at my stuff. So I'm going to talk through a little bit of our administrative procedure. What I do appreciate about our procedure is it really takes a good chunk of the work from our current sign-in from students. So when students and parents take a look at their responsible tech use, it's written in that same fashion where we start looking at the aspects from a staff perspective. We want to respect it. We want to take a look at the privacy piece. We'd like to look at the responsible and ethical use pieces, and really saying that this journey. And so when you do, and that they're available live for anybody to actually click on the links that I have set up in that fashion, it'll be easier for you to really dig into. And then going towards more of a global outlook, the work that we did really took a look at all that progression down below, as you see in UNESCO's work, where the aspects of being human-centered, of being really looking at what are the foundations and what are the applications that are there. We can't just jump in. We need to have everyone at a base level, a foundational level of understanding what is generative AI. What does it mean in our essence in K-12? So I'd love to hear from Leah, Katina, what AI procedures or policies or guidelines have you seen Canada-wide that are really interesting?
There's a few, for example, we see them at the provincial level. So there's definitely provincial ones coming out of BC, Alberta, Quebec, and New Brunswick. And it's been wonderful because then those school divisions, authorities, districts can leverage the provincial ones. The ones that have yet to come out with a provincial set of guidelines, they're creating some of their own, which is why I've been sharing all of yours with everybody, because people need something to anchor onto. And we've been talking about guidelines versus policies, because it is ever changing, and how they can be leveraging their acceptable use policies and emerging technologies that are already in play. So I would say, there's still a lot of folks that need to have something that they can build upon, but it's great to see those like yourselves that have been able to move forward with this. So I think it's very much a mix across the country. I would say about 50%, if that.
Great. Leah or Shay, do you want to make a comment on?
Personally, in Manitoba, there is not yet a standard. Divisions and individual schools are currently kind of coming up with their own general guidelines. Hence part of why I'm here, to get a better idea of what is advantageous and will work.
Well, now you can definitely look up our Parkland School Division admin procedure 620 if you really want to know the number for artificial intelligence. I do appreciate that our executives had the forethought last year to really look at it at being a procedure. Much easier to quickly get focused, get on it, and easy to change. We do see other authorities going the policy way and feeling that that still works for them. So now for the fun part. So where did we start? We really wanted to take a look at these specific pieces. Our work to introduce generative AI in our K-12 environment really focused on a number of factors. we established 2 AI committees. So the previous year, there was an ad hoc high school committee that had worked within themselves. And so we expanded it into a K-6 and a 7-12. We invited both teachers and administrators, so it's a nice mix. And both Shay and I have an opportunity to sit down with them for a half day. We established 4 half days throughout the year, and I'll show you exactly what were some of the expectations for those committees and so on, because that was really important in establishing a set of norms, etc. We also then, with Jeremiah, one of our professional coaches, through C21 and Dell, Shay and I had the opportunity to say, listen, we need to set up a foundational AI presentation. And so that was a great opportunity in October or November staff meetings that it would be shown by the trainers that we trained at the end of September. And we'll talk a little bit, what did that look like? And then we started delving into specific tools. Not only did our AI committees do that, but then we had different groups saying, you know, we're trying this is what it looks like. And we thought, what better way but to showcase some of that? So we created an AI Ed Ventures deck, which were use cases in different subject areas. And we developed a 3-year plan, which we call a continuum. So here we go. You can see some of our AI committee members there. We had a purpose of exploring the different AI resources. So we had these groups actually we worked with technology services and turned on specific tools so that they could tell us, you know, the benefits, you know, give us some input. Would it be useful? Where would it be useful? Are there some areas where we could reduce teacher workload? Could we be more efficient? Would this help with student achievement? And then go back to your sites and have those collegial conversations. Some even had, when they had regular staff meetings, would have time allotted throughout the year to showcase what they were working on or what some of their colleagues were working on. And then also opportunities. We have self-directed PD days throughout the year where staff could come in and either showcase the AI, so host some AI sessions themselves that anyone in the school district could attend. And so those opportunities to even, for me, developing the agendas were very specific in regards to, hey, here's some great background information since the last time we met. Here's some really interesting things going out in research, in the world of generative AI, some did you knows. We also looked at videos from other Canadian conferences to say, hey, here's the future. Here's some futuristic ideas. How do you think that will influence some of the work we're doing? Having those discussions and really looking at their uses, and they got to share their uses with each other. And then that really spread out throughout the school sites. This was that foundational AI professional development piece that we had established with Jeremiah, our professional coach. And what the purpose was to really get an understanding, and it is linked in here, so if anyone's watching it, you'll have access to it. We really went through and talked about artificial intelligence as a whole. We then dug into generative AI and what our experiences so far socially, personally have been, and then what is it in the educational realm, and what AI is not. Then we dug into what are some of the skills we need to work with when we're using AI. And we also really made sure people understood the ethical implication, the privacy challenges. We talked about bias, hallucinations, and we said, based on Alberta policy, so FOIP, Bill 33, Bill 34, privacy, importance when we're looking at using it with students, using it with staff. And then at the very end, we asked them a couple questions. And so you'll see our survey in just a moment. From this work, Shay might want to speak to this if he wants to, but I was tapped on my shoulder to say, we hear you did such a great job of this, that we would like you to present this, plus how are your colleagues using AI? So our AI use cases slide deck and this then became what you see in the bottom right corner, a K4, a 5-9, and a 10-12 full day PD edition at another school authority in Alberta. So it was very exciting to be able to bring that over and have those offerings in this new year after we finished this first project. And Katina, it was because of you presenting at CAS, our info saying, hey, Parkland has done this, take a look at that they contacted Shay.
Yeah, I would say that's exactly how it went, and it's kind of reminds us that as a mid-sized board in Alberta, many of the boards around us are a fair bit smaller, and so they don't necessarily have access to the same resources that we do. However, they have lots to offer in our learning journey as well. So it's a good opportunity to kind of connect with other divisions and share some of the work in this field, similar to how we do in some of the other subject areas and some of the other work we would do. So yeah, we're excited about kind of continuing that work across divisions.
I think that's beautiful. Like, that's exactly what we want to see happening. It's just, this is how we scale it, right? We talk about it. I'm promoting you folks across the country because I think your work is phenomenal. And then, yes, then others can reach out to you and you can share with them and keep the learning growing. Thank you.
You're welcome. So this was one of the nights, Shay, myself, and another facilitator, we flew up to Fort Chipewyan. And so we had an evening session where we did the foundational AI professional development, and we did some learning after, some bonus AI, generative AI playing around. And it was really exciting to see everyone engaged, interested in some of the work. Why are we delving into this? And that over 90% over the 2 months that we did this foundational AI professional development session, which was about 30 to 40 minutes long, plus including the survey, that 90% of the staff all had this. At least we have a common sort of standalone, I get this. Okay, now I know what we're sort of starting with. And from the foundational AI, at the end of it, we had a quick 4-question survey, and then we had some comments. And so you can see quickly, we saw how many staff said, I now know what AI is. So approximately 74-75% right away after 30-45 minutes of the foundational AI PD. What it is not, again, 72-73%. And then the potential opportunities, a little bit higher at about 80-83%. And same thing with the risks. So for us, I thought that was a pretty darn good start of, let's do a foundational AI presentation. Let's see where everybody is at. And from there, we had the opportunity for people to tell us a little bit about their work and what they were happy with, and what they'd like to learn more. And so that influenced a little bit of the professional development over the next little while. And you can see here, bottom right, you heard some of the tools or saw some of the tools, and we talked about them. The GPTs like Perplexity, Claude, Chat. You're going to say, well, where's Gemini? Well, it's over in the Google Workspace because we happen to be a Google Workspace environment. And so Gemini Read Along for K-3, which, by the way, Katina was excited about Notebook. I'm excited about Read Along because as of last week, teachers can now upload their own titles. There are 777 fiction, nonfiction, and decodables that teachers can pull from already. But now they can upload up to 1,000 characters, put a title, and they can add those in there, and students can work through that. We can look at reading fluency, comprehension, phenomenal. So the Gemini, the Read Along, and now the Notebook LM that are now built in as core services in the Google Workspace is really helping us to move forward on establishing opportunities for both staff and students to dig into how can I use generative AI in my learning and in my work. Anybody else want to make comments about any of these AI tools?
I think I would just say, Nicole, you're right that there's a whole bunch of tools out there and staff are playing around. We talked about that with our committees and so on. And it feels like as much as they evolve so quickly and new ones pop up, that the work that some of our committees and teachers do allow us to figure out which ones might be the best fit in which places. So for instance, MagicSchool, we're hearing from our K-9-ish group that, yeah, that's kind of a nice interface and user-friendly platform, but our high school teachers say no, like that's not, not a fit in their world and not developmentally appropriate there. So it's kind of one of those things where there's so much out there that you really need to lean in to figure out what fits and where, because it can be overwhelming for teachers and for staff.
Yeah, and so we're very grateful with our committees and our cohorts that we're digging into those tools, letting us know. This particular piece has been very exciting for us. We have really tried to streamline our software approval process. It started with, we had a whole bunch of approved emerging tech tools already, but we hadn't approved them over several years. And so we needed to revisit that. But all these AI tools started to push that factor because these are new on the block. So what do we need to be doing? And so we established this software process where a staff member will fill in a Google form explaining exactly what is the tool, the link, any licensing, is it free, what's the specific use that they'd like to use it for, what grade levels, and so on. Does their administrator know that they've looked at it, and have they looked? We do have a whole list of software that are already approved. Is it already in there, and is it already approved or under review? And so that was really helpful for us to start establishing a little bit of a better process. And so it comes into me, I take a look at it, and I created a GPT with all the proper policies, bills in place so that it would screen the software, in this instance, the AI application, and I would put it on a Google document. And from there, it's put on a reviewer spreadsheet, and it goes through specific reviewers because they have a specific lens. So we have an educational lens, we have a technology services lens, we have legal and finance, and then Shay happens to get this as instructional services director because he'll close the loop with the school and the teacher, staff member, that asked for it, because we'll either approve or unapprove it. And then from a contract piece, there is also a contract form that needs to be created. And on the right-hand side, we again in Google have a Looker Studio. There you can see the sample there, where staff will see the approved and unapproved ones. They're actually we just call it PSD software list now. And they'll be able to actually click and go directly to the ones that are approved. So we're really excited about having that ready to go, so that instead of a big spreadsheet list with a number of them that we've had in the past, we now have that. Professional learning can take many different forms. And our calendar was set up the year before in regards to what kind of opportunities do we have to support staff with professional development. And so taking advantage of that, every afternoon that there was a self-directed PD session, I offered one of these sessions that you can see here, from intro to classroom discussions to visualizing learning. And these were all based on those survey questions from the foundational AI and from our AI committee members and from discussing with different collaborative groups. So it was all based on information that we were getting from the people within our school division so that we could develop those resources. Now, the first one you probably all can guess was Intro to Gen AI. After I hosted that, I had staff who said, I couldn't come to it. Can you share the recording? Well, it was live, it was in person. So speaking with Shay, I said, can we do a recording? And would that be okay? He said, yeah, go for it. We then, so then I recorded each one after I did it live and put it up on, we use Sked as our professional development platform, and I would make it available during the next self-directed session. So staff could choose to come see me live at the next session or watch the last session. And we had so many upticks. I can see the activity of how many people would see it. Some would do it on their own time, not even during self-directed PD. So that was nice to see that the model of offering it in person, but then offering an opportunity to have the recording at a later date, was successful for people. Then we had the teacher groups. So these are groups like we have STEPS teachers. Here, these are specialized programs. And so those teachers really dig in with high level, high needs, high cognitive needs. And so assistive technology really fit well with artificial intelligence. So I showed them some of the aspects, and they were just excited because they have to create a lot of resources so that they can engage their students. And so they ran with some of the chatbots, they ran with read and write with the AI voices that their students were just excited about. So those things are really nice. The other one, social studies pilot teachers. We have a new social studies curriculum from K to 6, and we have staff that are piloting right now. And so having those opportunities to show them how can I converse with an AI chatbot? How do I set that up to, what kind of discovery and research opportunities does generative AI offer me or my students? And what about lesson planning? What's an efficient AI platform or tool that can do that specifically? And finally, we have just those collaborative discussions. Our teachers have in different school sites have collaborative grade level meetings or subject area meetings. And so it's nice to pop in and have those discussions or listen in on how they're working or utilizing AI in the work that they're doing. And then finally, at the bottom is Dr. Leon Furz's work out of Australia. That is now world-renowned. That is the AI assessment scale. That's our second project that we just completed. And so that is there too, and really has helped staff think about their assessment practices, keeping the academic integrity in place, and really showcasing how can students use AI. And so we'll talk another time about that. And finally, we have facilitators in our school division that work in literacy, that work in numeracy, they work in science, they work in social studies, they work with inclusion, so different special needs factors. And so meeting with them and talking with them to help them set out how does it work for them for IEPs or IPPs, how does it work for creating different types of stories, what about planning, those types of things has been really integral to our work. And from that, you know, we get all these little great, hey, did you know, Nicole, did you know this? We did this, we talked about this, we shared this. And right in front of you, I don't think with the internet going, I'll be able to show any examples, but this is available on our Project One site with C21 and Dell, that you can click on this. And I actually just this week updated it with some new cases. And so you'll be able to see, what does it look like in math? Oh, what does a prompt look like? I have no idea how to prompt. So you can take a look at that. What are some of our sites even made 1-minute videos, and we've included it in there. So I think, as Katina said earlier, it's people sometimes need to just see it in action, and then they get an idea. You know, tabula rasa in Latin means blank slate. Sometimes a blank slate is just not good enough. We need to see the creativity. We need to see some exemplars so that we can get our ideas flowing and move forward. And I think with teachers playing as much as our group have been playing, it has offered some amazing things from, yes, subject area things, but I want to tell you, we have an administrator that took a chatbot, put in particular outcomes in regards to specific research on when students are dealing with something heavy, or they have not made the best decisions out with their classmates, that he actually created a chatbot for the office. So when students come in this grade 5 to 9 school, and they're calm enough to answer some questions with the chatbot, the assistant principal sees on his dashboard the responses and reads them before coming to get the student. So by that time, the student has already done a little bit of reflecting. And so the conversation gets to be a lot more targeted. And he has sung praises that he's actually seen a change in some of these students already, because it's them having that discussion. And it's not always easy as a middle years student to have your words. So that's been fantastic to see. And then, of course, we've added any professional development things that we've done with that. Shay, I don't know if you want to add anything to that, or Leah, have you seen any use cases that you thought would be interesting to share?
No, you've captured it beautifully. Yeah, lots of different unique things happening with people using AI to tailor and fit the needs they have.
And I'll echo that sentiment as well.
And then here's our AI continuum. I do have a link on this particular spreadsheet. We happen to have it on a document, but I I just like a spreadsheet every once in a while. So we really took a look, as you heard me earlier, about UNESCO's AI work on a framework for teachers and also for students, by the way, if you haven't delved into that, so both. And we took this to our AI committees and said, what did you think about UNESCO? What are you working? What do you think we should be working for? And they did a great job over a couple of our meetings to really dig in. And then Shay and I had this opportunity to say, so what are our big rocks? What are our big resources, our research? Where do we want to hang our hat in regards to enhancing teachers' AI knowledge and teaching skills? So that will hit professional development. So we have AI literacy workshops, we have in-depth workshops, we have collaborative learning, we have external collaboration, and we have external research and resources. Because it isn't just about Nicole or Parkland School Division. We really need to look at what are the trends, what is the research saying, where are we at as a province or even as a country in regards to this. Then curriculum integration. How do we integrate AI concepts into classroom teaching? So what are some basic things that we can do? So we showcase that, you just saw that in the AI use cases slide deck, our adventures. And then resources. Sometimes it's just a 2-minute, 3-minute conversation side by side with a teacher when we are visiting sites or when we're in the middle of a meeting and teachers go, aha, I've got it. That's neat. So some of those resource provision, and then our second project, all about the AI assessment scale and updating assessments as they are to really fit an engagement and making that impact on student learning. And then eventually we would like to move all the way towards cross-subject embedding. What does it look like when I put together humanities, when I put together math science, when I bring in music, arts, etc. And project-based learning. How do we have teachers actually modeling with students their own AI use? Because if we have tools that only teachers can use, how do students get involved? What does that look like? And then back to those real world scenarios, we can create those real world scenarios to come back to our current curricular outcomes, and students will make much more sense of, oh, so no longer do I have to look at print-based resources or even digital resources that may already be not as up to date as they could be. Now I can use generative AI to update the focus of the work. The outcome is still there, but now I'm making it more relevant for my students. And then we currently are taking a look at some AI-focused modules. What could we be doing in, let's say, in Alberta, we have from grades 5 to 9, career and technology foundations. Could you introduce some AI projects throughout some of those opportunities? Could we take a look at the high school level where it's CTS, where students could actually be working with those specific AI tools, because as they leave us, they will be in a workforce, in post-secondary, in vocational training, where there will be that AI coexistence with their learning and or work environment. And then hopefully we'll get to the point where we get to see some capstone projects from students. And then the ethical considerations has been throughout. We have been very specific, reminding teachers, talking to staff about the discussions. Think about this. We added in all our self-directed PD. We talk about it. We have some teachers, great teachers, that talk about with their students, what do you think? Is the AI telling us everything? Should we ask it? Does it have a particular bias? Should we compare? Why would it be different? And then, as we talked at the very beginning, we are very fortunate to have an admin procedure already guiding the work for us. And finally, community engagement. Our course outlines, where necessary, do indicate what are we doing within an AI environment. Some teachers are putting it on specific projects or specific assessments. And then we have updated our public website. We have a technology for learning section. So we talk a little bit about the AI piece in our situation. And we hope to host some parent meetings, some community meetings in the near future. And we are always taking a look at those global perspectives throughout the work that we are doing. And so, Katina, really, that is the main focus of our first project. Shay, any final comments in regards to what we did?
No, you just at the end, your conversation around parents and so on reminded me that yes, our future work still lies around building lots and lots of capacity with teachers and comfort, as is seen by our fall survey. Though we have a spring survey coming up next Friday, Friday the 16th, sorry. So we'll have the majority of our division staff giving us feedback on where they currently are with AI implementation and comfort, which will drive our work next year, our planning for next year, and then allow us to know kind of where we're at with our student body and our parent community as well to inform that work.
I'm curious, what are you anticipating in terms of survey results?
Yeah, it's funny. We don't know. In some of the sessions that are not AI related, where we've had curriculum-based sessions and other topics, I have just kind of taken a straw poll when one of the facilitators will ask, well, how many of you are using AI to help you develop resources for this math program and so on? And you look around at the hands, and it's not as significant as I would have hoped and would have liked. So I think we're going to see, we have, of course, like everyone, some early adopters, and we know who they are, and they are flying down the road. But I think we still have a lot of teachers who don't even yet understand the potential. They're not fearful necessarily. They just truly haven't had the time and made the time to dig in and do some of that work. And so with that assumption, what should it be confirmed, Nicole and I've already been speaking about how we might re-envision our committees that we've run this year to I guess better align with that need and say, okay, well, if we have this huge group of staff who probably would be open to using this technology to support their work, but just are unaware of how it could do so, we can again re-envision those committees, restaff them with different people with a different focus, and move that priority forward maybe next year, as opposed to the committee work that we were focused on this year.
That's great insight. And some of the other sessions that I've seen and heard, just that similar question, I think they said they divided it up into almost like 6 different groups, from those early adopters to those at the very beginning of their journey, and then in between. And I love the idea that they're designing multiple on-ramps for folks to wherever they are in that journey, that they'll have that opportunity to dive in wherever they are. So I see definite similarities in what you folks are doing as well. So it's just neat to see that those good practices that we do with any sort of implementation are the same for AI. It just might be moving at a faster pace than what other ones have previously done.
Exactly. And so anything that we have shared today is easily linkable. I'll make sure Katina has the slides for this part of it, and those are all linkable links. We are more than willing to share, have discussions. We are all on this learning path together. We were just very excited to see the movement forward and the positive open-mindedness of our staff and our students who are along this journey with us. So thank you for allowing us to discuss what we're doing in Parkland School Division.
I love it. Kudos to all of you. So thank you for sharing this, because this is exactly what folks need to see, is how to implement it giving them, our educators, the support that they need. You're listening, you're responding, you're providing so many different ways that they can access this information and the skills and build their own capacity around this. So congratulations to you and your team and just all the great work that you're doing. This is phenomenal. A great model that others can figure out where they can take some of this and put it into their own school districts and divisions, etc. So
well, thank you for allowing us to tell our story. We appreciate, one, the opportunity that C21 and Dell put this together for us. It really honed in. This was quite quick. I don't know if people understand that this project really, yes, officially started in the summer, but we really, got going end of August, and by mid-October, end of October, actually, that was it. So we had a lot established in a short amount of time. And so it can be done. So if people are thinking, wow, it's too much, take many steps, focus on a couple of different things. Your staff, your situation will all be very specific, but it is very doable.
Awesome. I love that. Now, you mentioned about round 2, and so you know what I'm going to say is that I'm going to need a second video from you guys sharing.
We will definitely do that. Yes,
that insight.
Yeah, that's why I stopped where I did, because I saw the time and I thought, no, we'll do, when you're ready, we can certainly do one by the end of June. We'll have something to share for you, because I do have the second part of this slide deck. And so we'll talk. You can connect with us and we'll make sure we get it done for you.
Wonderful, because it is so exciting. It's all leading up to this, if you know what I mean, what I've seen in round 2, without giving too much away. But honestly, the work that folks have been doing, that round 1, lots of dabbling, lots of tinkering and experimenting, getting our literacies and building our skill sets. And then by 2, you're really starting to see this is all leading into the assessment ones. So even though specifically your round 2 assessment was very much from you folks and working with your educators, and then we did one in Ontario that was more of the educators at an organic level working their way through it. But then we actually saw other elements, other use cases, they all naturally brought in assessment and started to question it. So what we're going to do is take a lot of these pieces from others and do comparison and contrasting to see what did we discover in all of this. It's just beautiful, beautiful. So we're excited. And let me finish up here, though, so we can finish this recording. This webinar that you've just watched is being posted on our 2024-25 professional learning series with OECM. It will also be posted on the C21 and Dell tile. So you can access the webinar here. And as we've been saying, more to come. You're going to hear more about round 2, but we want to give all those folks in round 2, they just finished up, give them a chance to breathe, really let it sink in and process. And then it is about storytelling. It's about telling your story so that others can go, hey, I see that. And, you know, when you're in the shower, when you're walking the dog, some of those great insights just go, eureka. And it's just those pieces that come together. So we want to capture all of that. For Nicole and team, it'll be before June, because I want to get it right now while it's hot. And then others will be doing it later next fall. So I want to thank everybody for your time today. Nicole, Shay, thank you so much for sharing all of your learning. And we're excited to keep this going. It's exciting learning for all of us across the country. We want to make sure that Canada, that we are giving our students what they need to prepare them for their future. And we're just so thankful and grateful to the folks who want to share these stories, willing to learn, willing to step forward. And we're excited to do even more as we move forward together. So thanks, everyone. And goodbye from all of us here.
Thanks, Katina.
All right. Take care, all.
Take care. Bye.